Hey y'all. You want to read with me? I need to read to y'all. I want to read to y'all. Okay. I want to read. I need y'all to help me with my homework. Y'all gonna listen, okay? Cause I'm gonna need, you know what I'm saying, help. Look at how thick this book is. But it got a whole bunch of short stories in there, y'all. And this is the short story I have to read right now. So I need an audience. Hey Chip Low, how you doing today? Y'all, this lady is named Shirley Jackson. Have y'all read this before? Yeah, the mods. I don't have any mods, but okay. But yeah, this is Shirley Jackson, y'all. Does she look black or white? Let me know. Shirley Jackson, that's a black name. And then look at her. She look like she is black, y'all. But anyways, I have to read about her, y'all. She died at 48. My bad. My bad. She died at 48, and she's from San Francisco. I already read this part. And she had moved to New York and went to the college Syracuse University. Oh, thanks for coming through the show, love. Thank you. But I'm currently working on my schoolwork, and yeah, I just want somebody to study with. So I came out here to study with y'all, you know what I mean? But yeah, Shirley Jackson, she was born in 1916. She died in 1965, y'all. So she's only 48 years old. You know, after she moved to New York for Syracuse, whatever, she met her husband. They had like a family of 4 in Vermont, you know what I mean? Her husband's name was Stanley Egger or whatever. And yeah, you know, her relationship wasn't like the relationships, you know, they claim, you know, with women and all that back in the day, you know. So she was able to write those stories and stuff, you know what I'm saying? And her famous story was called The Lottery. Let me know if y'all read this short story called The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. She wrote it in 1948. And yeah, she earned a good living publishing her stories and 6 novels. She had 6 novels. That's a lot, including the challenging, inventive horror novel, The Haunting of Hill House in 1959. Did y'all hear about that? The Haunting of Hill House, of the Hill House? I think I've seen that movie before. It's crazy when you read stuff like it be in books too, you know, like that's why you really gotta read before you sit there and watch TV for real. You feel me? Hey Tim, how are you? Hey, thank you. I'm good. Hey Queen, it's your birthday in 5 days. Well, turn up then. Let me know something. How old you gonna be? This is who I'm reading about. She wrote The Lottery, y'all. It's called The Lottery. So I wonder what she got to say about the lottery. You know what I mean? Because, yeah, this right here is lit. I need a study partner. Y'all are my study partners, okay? Okay. Y'all know what I got yourself into with me. And know I'm in school or whatever. Hey, Ruger. Nice to see you. Hi, Angelo. Hey, Damon. Oh, you're 14. Okay. Hey, Hanzo. I am 33 years old. But yeah, enough about me. We're learning about Shirley, Miss Shirley Jackson here, okay? She's important, y'all, okay? Anyways. But yeah, she has a horror novel, The Haunting of Hill House. If y'all have heard The Haunting of Hill House, let me know. But anyway, Her health declined, you know what I'm saying, leading to heart failure at 48. I've never known somebody with heart failure at 48. That's young. But her works are known for exploration, psychology, horror, and what might be termed the dark side of human experience, as you will see in The Lottery. The Lottery do have a dark side of human experience for real, y'all. It's crazy work. My granny, she won the lottery the other day. She won like $500. But shoot, shout out to Granny Neon. Y'all, I was on live last night. My granny was on live talking. Yo, she hit. She about to mess with your girl. Yeah, I say, hey, bud, but you know, shoot, she hit it. You feel me? But yes, another thing. So this is called The Lottery. Granny, you're a super fun girl. Thank you. Hey, John. OG said my type. Joker, Missouri. Okay, what up, though? Finest. Thank you. Okay, The Lottery. Okay, 1948. So the morning of June 27th was clear and sunny, with fresh warmth of a full summer day. The flowers were blossoming profusely, and the grass was rich green. The people of the village began to gather in the square between the post office and a bank around 10 o'clock. In some towns, there were so many people that the lottery took 2 days and had to be started on June 26th. But in this village, where there were only about 300 people, the whole lottery took less than 2 hours. So it could begin at 10 o'clock in the morning and still be through in time to allow the villagers to get home for noon dinner. Hey, Sheikah. Hey, y'all. But anyways, y'all got me missed. Okay. So the children assembled first, of course. The school was recently over for the summer, and the feeling of the liberty sat uneasily on most of them. They tended to gather together quickly for a while, but they broke into boisterous play, and their talk was still the classroom and the teacher, or books, reprimands. Bobby Martin had already stuffed his pockets full of stones, and the other boys soon followed his example. Selecting the smoothest and roundest stones, Bobby and Harry Jones and Dickie Delaroix, the villagers pronounced his name Delacour, eventually made a great pile of stones in one corner of the square and guarded against the wrath of the other boys. The girls stood aside, talking among themselves, looking over their shoulders, you feel me, at the boys, and the very small children rolled in the dust or clung to the hands of their older brothers or sisters. Soon men began to gather, surveying their own children. Speaking of planting and rain, tractors and taxes, they stood together away from the pile of stones in the corner, and their jokes was quiet, and they smiled rather than laughed. The women were faded house dresses and sweaters. Came shortly after their menfolk. They greeted one another and exchanged bits of gossip as they went to join their husbands. Soon the women, standing by their husbands, began to call to their children, and the children came reluctantly, having to be called 4 or 5 times. Bobby Martin ducked under his mother's grasping hand and ran laughing back to the pile of stones. His father spoke up sharply, and Bobby came quickly and took his place between his father's and his oldest brother. The lottery was conducted, as were the square dancers, the teenage club's Halloween program, by Mr. Summers, who had time and energy to devote to civic activities. He was a round-faced, jovial man, and he ran the coal business, and people were sorry for him because he had no children and his wife was a scold. When he arrived in the square carrying the black wooden box, there was a murmur of conversation among the villagers, and he waved and called, "Little late today, folks." The postmaster, Mr. Graves, followed him carrying a 3-legged stool, and the stool was put in the center of the square, and Mr. Summers set the black box down on it. The villagers kept their distance, leaving a space between themselves. leaving the paper between themselves in the stool. And when Mr. Summers said, "Some of you fellas want to give me a hand," there was a hesitation before two men, Mr. Martin and his oldest son, Braxter, came forward to hold the box steady on the stool while Mr. Summers stirred up the papers inside it. This is literature, compact literature. It has short stories in here. This short story is about, it's Miss Shirley Jackson. This is Miss Shirley Jackson right here. She wrote this book. She wrote this story that I'm reading called The Lottery back in 1948. Anyways, so the original paraphernalia for the lottery had been lost long ago, and the black box now rested on the stool had been put into the use even before Old Man Warner, the oldest man in town, was born. Hey, Leon. Hey, Leon. What's our bet? Mr. Summers spoke frequently to the villagers about making a new box, but no one liked to be too upset. What? Okay, my bad, y'all. Mr. Summers spoke frequently to the villagers, represented by the black box, about making a new box. I don't know what I'm doing. But no one liked to upset, even as much tradition was represented by the black box. There was a story that the present box, ooh, there was a short story that that the present box had been made with some pieces of the box that had preceded it. The one that had been constructed when the first people settled down to make a village here. Every year after the lottery, Mr. Simmons began talking again about the new box. But every year the subject was allowed to fade off without anything being done. The black box grew shabbier. Shabbier each year. By now it was no longer completely black, but splintered badly along one side to show the original wood color, and in some places faded or stained. Yes, I have kids. I have two. Not for real. My last comp class, I didn't have this big of book. We just had one book we had to kind of work out of, you know what I'm saying, with, other stuff. But luckily, these are nothing but short stories in it. But it is. I think this page goes to 238. So, like, these two little pages. And it has some Mark Twain in here, too. Mark Twain is the pen name of Samuel Clemens, born in Missouri, 1835. Twain spent most of his childhood in Hannibal, Missouri, on the Mississippi River. And after the death of his father, when he was 11, he worked as a series of jobs to help support his family. Okay, Mark Twain. Yeah, I mean, this is a grown woman. That part, let them know. Let them know I'm a grown woman. As you can tell, baby, I'm reading novels. I understand. This is a literature book, though. This got plenty of short stories and novels in here. Yeah, you can donate to me. What you talking about? Okay. What else? So, talking about some box. It switched over to the box that they had. I guess between all this chaos of trying to, get ready for the lottery, whatever, you know what I mean? In this village with the kids getting out of school, people having to have their kids stand in line and everything. No, I'm not pregnant. Okay, so Mr. Martin and his oldest son Baxter held the black box securely on the stool until Mr. Summers had stirred the papers thoroughly with his hands because so much of the ritual had been forgotten or discarded. Mr. Summers had been successful in having slips of paper substituted for the chips of wood that had been used for generations. Chips of wood for Mr. Summers had argued had been all very well when the village was tiny, but now that the population was more than 300 and likely to keep on going, it was necessary to use something that would fit more easily into the black box. The night before the lottery, Mr. Summers and Mr. Graves made up the slips of paper and put them in the box, and it was then taken to the safe of Mr. Summers' coal company and locked up until Mr. Summers was ready to take it to the square the next morning. For the rest of the year, the box was put away, sometimes one place, sometimes another. It had spent 1 year in Mr. Graves' barn, another year underfoot in the post office, and sometimes it was set on a shelf in the Martin grocery and left there. There was a great deal of fussing to be done before Mr. Summers declared the lottery open. There were lists to make up of heads of families, heads of households in each family, members of each household in each family. You know what I mean? Hey, Antonio. I'm reading my short story for school, so yeah. There was proper swearing in of Mr. Summers by the postmaster. As the official of the lottery. At one time, some people remember there had been a recital of some sort performed by the official of the lottery, a perfunctory tuneless chant that had been rattled off duty each year. Some people believe that the official of the lottery used to stand just so he said or sang it. Others believe that he was supposed to walk among the people, but years and years ago, this part of the ritual had been allowed to lapse. There had been also a ritual salute, which the official of the lottery had to use in addressing each person who came up to draw from the box. But this had also changed with time. Until now, it was felt necessary only for the official to speak to each person approaching. Mr. Summers was very good at all this. In his clean white shirt and blue jeans, with one hand resting carelessly on the black box, he seemed very proper and important as he talked interminably to Mr. Graves and the Martins. Thank you, Core MC. Just as Mr. Summers finally left off talking and turned to the assembled villagers, Miss Hutchinson came hurried along the path to the square, her sweater thrown over her shoulders and slid into place in the back of the crowd. Clean forgot what day it was, she said to Mr. Delcoy, who stood next to her, and they both laughed softly. Thought my old man was out back stacking wood, Miss Hutchinson went on. And I looked at the window and the kids was gone. And then I remembered it was a 27th and came a running. She dropped her hands off her apron and Miss Delcoy said, "You're in time though. They're still talking away up there." Mrs. Hutchinson craned her neck to see the crowd and found her husband and children standing at the front. She tapped Miss Delcoy on the arm as a farewell and began to make her way through the crowd. The people separated good-humoredly to let her through. 2 or 3 people said in voices just loud enough to be heard across the crowd, "Here comes your Mrs. Hutchinson." And Bill, she made it after all. Mrs. Hutchinson reached her husband and said, and Mr. This is funny. This is funny. Oh my gosh. What the heck? And I'm really like acting that because like this is how they're doing it. I am studying English Comp 2. So I have to take part 2 of English. And yeah. It's making me read. Look how big this is. But this is different short stories though. I'm reading a short story called The Lottery. You good as a teacher who can read so good. You a teacher? Hey, speak on it, Q. What you up to? I ain't seen you in a minute. Yeah, I kind of laughing at this part though, for real. Okay, yeah, because she did say it cheerfully. It say, okay, I'm gonna go back to the part. I've been good. Actually been pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Just been school and real life stuff, you know what I'm saying? But I've been good, you know what I'm saying? I've been good. You know. How about you? How you been? And you're a teacher, Antonio? Are you saying you're a teacher, Antonio? All right, let's go back to her going back through this crowd, though. Okay. Here come your Mrs. Hutchinson and Bill. She made it after all. Mrs. Hutchinson reached her husband and Mr. Summers, who had been waiting, said cheerfully, "Thought you were going to have to get on without you, Tessie." Mrs. Hutchinson said, grinning, "Wouldn't have me leave meat dishes in the sink now, would you, Joe?" And soft laughter ran through the crowd as people stirred back into position after Mrs. Hutchinson's arrival. Ain't that crazy? "Well now, Mr. Summers," and soberly, "guess we better get started. Get this over with." So she's right in this how they would say it back then, like our country. I'm country. Some of the stuff I can read, but they saying this, "Get this over with so we can go back to work." I'm country, but not that country. Anybody ain't heard? Dunbar, several people said, "Dunbar, Dunbar." Mr. Summers consulted his list. "Clyde Dunbar," he said. "That's right. He's broke his leg, hasn't he? Who's drawing for him?" "Me, I guess," the woman said, and Summers turned to look at her. "Wife draws for her husband?" Mr. Summers says, "Don't you have a grown boy to do it for you, Janie?" Although Mr. Summers and everyone else in the village knew the answer perfectly well, it was the business of the official of the lottery to ask such questions formally. Mr. Summers waited with an expression of polite interest while Mrs. Dunbar answered. "Oh, you're not a teacher? Okay. Lee, Nunu from ATL. Cut it, cut it, cut it. I guess it's kind of a good compliment, but you know. What's I gonna say though? Although Mr. Summers and everyone else in the village knew the answer perfectly well, it was the business of the official of the lottery to ask his questions formally. Mr. Summers waited with an expression of polite interest while Mrs. Dunbar answered. "Horace, not but 16 yet?" Mrs. Dunbar said regretfully. "Guess I got a feeling for the old man this year." "Right," Mr. Summers said. He had a note on the list he was holding. Then he asked, "Watson boy drawing this year?" A tall boy in the crowd raised his hand. "Here," he said, "I'm drawing for my mother and me." He blinked his eyes nervously and ducked his head as several voices in the crowd said things like, "Good fellow, Jack, and glad to see your mother's got a man to do it." "You work at construction site?" "Oh, that's what's up. I hope you be careful doing them construction sites." Shoot. Hope you be careful. Be careful. Oh, Lord. "Well," Mr. Summers said, "guess that's everyone. Old man Warner make it?" "Here," a voice said, and Mr. Summers nodded. A sudden hush fell on the crowd as Mr. Summers cleared his throat and looked at the list. "All ready?" he called. "Now, I'll read the names. Heads of first family, and the men come up and take a paper out of the box. Keep the paper folded in your hand without looking at it until everyone has had a turn. Everything clear?" The people had done it so many times that they only half listened to the directions. Most of them were quiet, wetting their lips, not looking around. Then Then Mr. Summers raised one hand high and said, Adams. A man disengaged himself from the crowd and came forward. Hi, Steve, Mr. Summers says, and Mr. Adams said, Hi, Joe. They grinned at one another humorously and nervously, then firmly by the one corner as he turned and went hastily back to his place in the crowd, where he stood a little apart from his family, not looking down at his hand. Allen, Mr. Summers said, Anderson, Bantam, seems like there's no time at all between lotteries anymore. Mrs. Delcrow said to Mrs. Graves in the back row, seems like we got through with the last one only last week. Time sure goes fast, Mr. Graves said. Clark, Delcroy, there goes my old man, Miss Delcroy said. She held her breath while her husband went forward. Dunbar, Mrs. Summers, Mr. Summers said, and Mrs. Dunbar went steadily to the box while one of the women said, Go on, Janie. And another said, There she goes. Where next, Mr. Graves said. She watched while Mr. Graves came around from the side of the box, greeted Mr. Summers gravely, and selected a slip of paper from the box. By now, all through the crowd were men holding the small folded papers in their large hands, turning them over and over nervously. Mrs. Dunbar and her two sons stood together. Mrs. Dunbar holding the slip of paper. Hartberg, Hutchinson, get up there, Bill, Mrs. Hutchinson said, and the people near her laughed. Jones, they do say, Mr. Adams said to the old man Warner who stood next to him, that over there in the North Village, they're talking of giving up the lottery. Yes, I am Tradesha. Nice to meet you, Antonio. Old man Warner snorted. Pack of crazy fools, he said, listening to the young folks. Nothing's good enough for them. Next thing you know, they'll be wanting to go back and live in caves. Nobody work anymore. That lived that way for a while. Used to be a saying about lottery in June, corn be heavy so soon. First thing you know, we'd all be eating stewed chickweed and acorns. There's always been a lottery, he added pensively. Bad enough to see young Joe Summers up there joking with everybody. Some places have already quit lotteries, Mr. Adams said. Nothing but trouble in that. Old man Warner said stoutly, pack of young fools. Martin and Bobby Martin watched his father go forward. Overdyke Percy. I wish they'd hurry, Miss Dunbar said to her older son. I wish they'd hurry. They're almost through, her son said. You get ready to run and tell Dad, Mrs. Dunbar said. Mr. Summers called his own name and then stepped forward precisely and selected a slip from the box. Then he called Warner. 77th year, I've been in the lottery. Old man